Letters, formal letters. I welcome you to this lesson where the teacher is going to take you through how to write a formal letter. And this always, like any other topic, we will begin with the vocabulary list. The vocabulary list comes at the beginning of every topic in English. So that you learn the language that is used in that specific topic. So, in our topic today, which is, in fact, the subtopic of letters in P7, today we look at formal letters, having talked about informal letters in the previous lessons, and now driving forward to formal letters. Formal letters also has its language. Yes, there's a language you're supposed to use when talking about formal letters, and this language, in this language, we mainly talk about the vocabulary. What are the new terms or the new terminologies we're supposed to use in the topic formal letters? We see formal letter itself, yes. Then surname. Surname is written as one word, remember? Surname. After that, we talk about the maiden name. The maiden name. After that, we see something to do with edit, salutation, yours faithfully, reply, you may read as reply, you may read as reply. Yes. One can be a verb and the other one a noun. Next, applicant, vacancy, application, referee, conclusion, and yours sincerely. We repeat the words in the list one more time. Formal letter, surname, maiden name, edit, salutation, yours faithfully, reply or reply, applicant, vacancy, application, referee, conclusion, finally yours sincerely. We see an activity on page 70 connected to the vocabulary, but before we go to the activity, allow me to say something about some of these names. Some of these words. We see the word formal letter itself, the term formal letter. A formal letter is a letter you write to people, especially those people who are in offices. Unlike an informal letter which is written to friends, relatives, or any other people you know very well, a formal letter is written with a specific purpose. And in most cases, we are going to see, by the way, the purpose of writing formal letters. It's what some people call an official letter, others call it a business letter. When you read what is in your dictionaries, you discover the dictionary uses the word business letter to refer to a formal letter. The difference is this one has two addresses, the other one requires only one address, the one we looked at last week, and that was an informal letter. The surname is what we call your last name or your family name, yes, as opposed to your first name. One has a surname and a first name. If one is called Alex Nsimbi, check. Alex is the first name, then Nsimbi is the surname. We looked at we looked at the meaning of first name in our previous lesson. Today the teacher is talking about the surname. Why does he talk about the surname? Because if you master the meaning of first name, which is your English name or foreign name, I may say, the surname is the opposite of this. The surname is supposed to come last in that order. The surname should come last in the order of your names. So this is Alex is correct. Nsimbi is the surname, which one may call the family name, or the last name. Why is it called the last name? Because this is the first name, then this is the last name. It doesn't mean human beings must have only one name, only two names. Just take it like that. So a surname is one's family name. Maiden name is the woman's family name before marriage. A maiden name is the woman's family name before marriage. What else? Salutation. We saw the meaning of salutation in the previous topic. Salutation. the expressions you write just under the date of a letter as a form of a polite way of addressing the person you're writing to. For example, if I say, "Dear sir," it is a common salutation in an official letter or a formal letter. "Dear sir." Another can say, "Dear madam." "Dear madam." That is a salutation. "Yours faithfully" is one of the complimentary clauses we use in letter writing, especially in a formal letter, or a business letter, or an official letter. "Yours faithfully" is what we prefer to any other ending. We normally use "yours faithfully" when your salutation is "Dear sir," when your salutation is "Dear madam." If you use, let me talk about this before I reach it. If you use a different, I have space, yeah, we'll get space. If you use a different salutation, that is a salutation that has someone's name, not these titles. For example, "Dear Mr. Kasato." "Dear Mr. Kasato." Then you're going to use a different conclusion or a different complimentary clause, not this, but this. "Yours sincerely" becomes your conclusion if you say, "Dear Mr. So-and-so." If you use "Dear sir" or "Dear madam," conclude like this. Use "dear" plus someone's name in a formal letter. You're going to use "yours sincerely." I believe that one has been taken. Applicant. An applicant is that person who applies for a job or for a vacancy. That is an applicant. In other words, an applicant is a person. What about an application? An application is a letter itself. The letter is an application, then the person applying or the person writing that application is an applicant. What about a vacancy? A vacancy is simply a job. A job that is available for someone to do is a vacancy. Referee, those who can say something about you or can give more information about you, especially as used in a letter. This time I'm not talking about sports as taught in those classes of P.5, P.6. I'm talking about letter writing where you have a referee. A referee. So referees letter writing are those from whom more information can be got about the applicant or the writer of the application letter. The conclusion is that part of a letter which comes just after you have written the main reason for writing that letter. What else do I need to say about that? I'll direct you to the activity which is on page 70, that is 70, and you try it out, testing yourself. It goes from page 70 page 71 where we have months of the year to be written in full form. And then others in short form. Okay. Then after that, we see something on page 72. Page 72. And that's about contractions. Do you know contractions? It even gives you a clue to contractions. What do I do if my contraction or my short form is given like this? How do I write it in full? What do we see in that clue to contractions from page 72? We see something to do with apostrophe RE standing for ARE. Meaning, if I see anything like apostrophe RE, I'll change this to R in my construction. In my full form. An example, U apostrophe RE. The answer would be U and ARE as C. This is U, correct? Apostrophe RE changes to R. Simple as that. Next, we see apostrophe VE. What does apostrophe VE stand for? You'll change that to have. For example, if I see my contraction as they apostrophe VE, my answer in full will be they have. They have. Next, what do we see? Apostrophe D, which stands for either had or would. Either had or would. Not did. Not did, as some people normally mistake it. Apostrophe double L, that is will. Then N apostrophe T is normally a not. An example is shan't. No. Say apostrophe N apostrophe T changes to not. Where we see an example as, let's use won't, which changes to will apostrophe NT not. That is that. Then apostrophe S changes to either has or is. Meaning, if I say an expression like she apostrophe S, the answer will be she is. Another one can say she has. But there is another apostrophe S which changes to us. As in let's. Let apostrophe S. This apostrophe S will change to us. That is let us. I believe that is enough for you to do the activity. Still on page 72. And that is strictly about contractions. Now writing formal letters. Success as you try out that activity. Writing formal letters. In writing formal letters, there are specific ideas we need to be using to get our letters written perfectly. Each letter, be it official or formal, has specific parts that it is made up of. Similarly, a formal letter has its specific parts. If you are to get the 10 marks about letter writing, you need to master these parts. What are the parts of a formal letter, and what are the parts that form an informal letter? All those things you must bear in mind. Some pundits, those who are creative of course, maybe I need to urge you to be more creative. Create a formula for yourself to make sure you remember the different parts of a formal letter. When you create a simple formula, to be in the form of a song, in the form of an acronym, I understand candidates who want to excel are supposed to be very creative. If you cannot think of one, I'm going to give you mine. Should I give it to you? Let me give it to you when we meet together at school. Not today. Okay. Parts of a formal letter. I said if you are creative enough, you can create an acronym from this. A short form to remind you all these parts from number 1 to number 10. But mine will come in when schools reopen. So we have the different parts of a formal letter or an official letter. We begin with the writer's address, which we looked at when we were looking at informal letters last week. We have the writer's address, we have the date. From the writer's address, you skip a line. In other words, skip one line. Then after skipping that one line, you write the date. We saw how to write the date in a letter, in informal letters. So that date should not be different from the date I'm talking about here. After writing the date, again you skip a lane. Go to the recipient's address. Is what someone may call the receiver's address or the addressee's address. The recipient is the receiver, is the addressee in a letter. So we talk about the recipient's address after skipping a lane from the date. And B, unlike, I repeat, unlike the writer's address or the addresser's address, the recipient's address begins with the title of the recipient. I repeat, the recipient's address begins with the title of that recipient. An example, if you're writing a letter to the head teacher of your school, let me say, you're going to tell us the title of that person who is receiving your letter. If the title is cook, you'll say the cook. If the title is class teacher, you say the class teacher. But this is the head teacher, so you say the head teacher. The head teacher. I'm giving you an example of a recipient's address. The head teacher is the title of the person who is receiving my letter. Then I got the name of the school, which is Katoke Primary School. The head teacher, Katoke Primary School, P.O. Box 1720 Wakiso. The other address we looked at was starting from this. And this should be the writer's address. If the head teacher from the same school is writing back to you, he will use this address. But since in this letter, he is the recipient, I'm giving you a hint on how to write the recipient's address. Since in this letter he is the recipient, he's going to, his address will appear like this. The title first, then the address in full. Remember, there are two kinds of punctuation we can use in letter writing, and that is open punctuation. Teacher Monday prefers open punctuation. In open punctuation, you don't need a comma, you don't need a comma, you don't need a comma, you don't need a full stop. The opposite of open is closed. In closed punctuation, you may need a comma, you may need a comma, you may need a comma, you need a full stop. Why do I like open punctuation? It doesn't bother us that much. You write a comma here, you write a comma, you forget one here, you write a full stop here. That means you've not punctuated the right way. So, no mark for you. Remember, the address takes at least 1 mark if well written. If not well written, I guarantee you even a 0 is possible. You may even hit a 0 when you don't write your address very well. This is now closed because I've used the punctuation mark at the end of each line in my address. So, after the date, skip a line, go to the recipient's address, which must start with the the recipient's title. Next, the salutation. After the recipient's address, you are now writing the salutation. Which salutation do you normally encourage you to use? We encourage you to use the salutation as dear sir. Another one can use dear madam. Dear madam. It is funny when you say dear sir or madam. Nowadays, it is considered a bit strange if you don't know the gender or the sex of the person who is going to receive your letter. Then that recipient will not consider you serious. You're writing it to me, but you don't even know my sex or my gender. Then I'll believe your letter doesn't need to enter my office. So what do we say? We encourage you to write either sir or madam, but not both in one address. Meaning, this is okay, this is okay, this is fake. When you say this, dear sir or madam, dear sir or madam. So you're writing to me, but you don't know whether I am a man, you don't know whether I am a woman. In other words, you're writing a letter to someone very strange to you, and this is embarrassing to some people. Just imagine a man seated in his office with his coat. He receives a letter. Dear Sir, oh madam. Meaning, I doubt whether you're a man. I doubt whether you're a woman. I'm just watching you. Or maybe I've never seen you. Meaning, if you have never seen me, you don't even know me. Why bother writing to me? Better use this or this, but not both. So, gone are those days when we would take such, dear Sir or Madam. It may be marked, but you are risking. Write a letter to your next head teacher in a secondary school, applying for a vacancy, and you write this. You may doubt whether you really know that school very well. Okay, that's about the salutation. Next, we see the subject, which is introduced using preposition re. Preposition re leads us to a subject in an official letter or a formal letter. The subject should be written the very way I've been advised to do so in the workbook on page 74. We have different subjects there, and we are saying the subject should never begin with a verb. Never begin your subject with a verb. When writing your subject, put it in noun form. For example, we see application for a vacancy in senior 1. Not applying. Applying is a verb. Application is a noun. Yes, get the difference. Request for permission to go home. Not requesting for permission. This is how our letters appear. Our questions about letter writing appear like this. Write a letter to the class teacher requesting him to give you permission to go home. And even underline the word requesting. When you read that word and you underline it, requesting, it is a sign that you're going to use the same word, but the teacher has stressed one point. Do not use a verb, requesting, in your subject when you write a re. Use a noun. The noun becomes request. Request for permission to go home. Write a letter to the head teacher apologizing for beating your neighbor and injuring him. The letter should be written to the head teacher apologizing for fighting. Let's put it right like this. Apologizing for fighting. Now you underline the word apologizing. You come to the subject of the letter and you write re. Apologizing for fighting. No. It is re. Apology for fighting. Apology is the noun from apologizing. Do not use a verb with ing to form the subject of your letter. So after that, you go to the body. In fact, most people like writing the subject in capitals. In capitals. Why do we write it in capitals? To avoid, to highlight what is necessary, what is very important. The key part of my letter should be written in capitals. You highlight. When you write in capitals, you don't need a full stop. You do not need a full stop at the end of the subject in your letter. For example, re, application for a vacancy in senior 1, no full stop. Just write your capital letters, go. Wait for your mark. Usually one mark coming there. You go the body straight to the body, or the key message you are sending to the recipient of that letter. And this body begins with the introduction, where you can talk about yourself. You talk briefly about yourself, because this official letter is not a letter of 1,000 words. You're supposed to be brief, because there may be other letters this person is receiving. So, better not waste all his time on one person's letter. So the body, make sure you are as brief as possible with your introduction. Go to the body, which is the key message. Then after the body, go to the conclusion. Yes, the conclusion normally talks about you and why you are the right person to do what you're asking to do in the subject or in the body. Next, after the conclusion, you may form a paragraph and you go to the complementary clause, which is normally yours faithfully. If you start like this, yours faithfully, that is the complementary clause. Yours faithfully. If you began with open punctuation, maintain open. If you began the way you wrote this, which I call closed punctuation, still maintain with a comma there. That's the complementary clause. And last we go to the second last, this is second last. Signature. The signature. The signature is that special of writing your name. If you are Anjuna Alex. Anjuna Alex. You write your signature like that, then you got your name, which is supposed to be in capital letters. Anjuna Alex. And this is the end of your letter name. So, having done that, we see a sample message, not a sample message. Okay, we see a sample message of our letter writing lesson today, which is on page 74. The message and the details of how your message should be written, the conclusion and how it should be written, are all provided on page 74 and 75 of your workbook. We didn't see a sample letter, a sample formal letter, or a sample official letter, which is from Great Times Primary School, P.O. Box 100, Kampala, 23rd March 2016. Then, like I said, the recipient's address must appear with the recipient's title first. You read the title first, then you go to the address itself. So you see, the head teacher, Kakoge Primary School, P.O. Box 11343, Nakasogola. That was the recipient. Dear Madam, or Sir, this kind of style which we have discouraged. So next time choose only one title. Request to have a friendly debate. I humbly request you to allow my school to have a friendly debate with your debating club. Your club can suggest the motion for the debate and whether they would like to propose or oppose it. The debate is proposed to take place on that date, 15th April 2016, in your school main hall at 2 p.m. Please allow us choose the chairperson and timekeeper. We further request that you choose the secretary for the debate. I will be grateful if you could allow us to come for this great occasion. Yours faithfully, Nakate Ida. That's the signature. Then Nakate Ida in capital letters, chairperson, debating club. Which debating club? The debating club of the school that appears in the writer's address. So after that, we saw comprehension activity on page 76, which is requiring you to read the letter given and answer the questions about it in full sentences. So in this letter, which is on page 76, you read, understand, then answer the questions that follow in full sentences. Now you are free. Having received all this guidance, you are free to do the activity as well on page 78, which is saying, imagine you have just completed your primary course from Police Children Primary School, Mianzi in Michana. Write a letter to the sales manager. The sales manager is then our title. The sales manager, Muduma Supermarket. Yeah, we don't want you to work in a supermarket. P.O. Box, the box number of the recipient is also given. P.O. Box 15, PG, applying for the post of sales assistant during your primary 7 vacation. You're P7 leaver, you need to apply for a vacancy as a sales manager, as a sales assistant in that supermarket. Include your sex and age and why you think you are the best candidate for the post. And they are telling us to use your school address. Which school address? Which is Police Children Primary School. That's your former school. We go to 29 where we see a jumbled story, which is a composition, aspect composition. You read it and assemble the sentences the right way to form a meaningful sentence. Next, on page 80, where we will be calling it a day with letter writing, we have a notice, which is in form of an advertisement. Yes, read it, understand, then answer the questions that follow, still in full sentences. Having done that, I want to wish you the best and you do those activities connected to letter writing. Then I can take you to the next part of our lesson, and that is a new topic, which is, and yeah, it has two subtopics, that is preparation for examinations and sitting examinations. We normally start with our vocabulary list. Examinations. Among the new words for the vocabulary we have for you today here is timetable itself. A timetable, that one everybody is used to a timetable, because even our lessons run from the timetables. Timetable, written as one word, remember. Then instructions, invigilator, index number, candidate, time allowed, examinee. An examinee is a candidate. An examinee is a candidate with a double E. Examinee. Answer sheet. Then examination center, briefing, registration from register, then examination room. Let's go through the list once again. Timetable, instructions, invigilator, index number, candidate, time allowed, examinee, answer sheet, examination center, briefing, registration, and examination room. The words appear like that. They are well defined in our workbooks. They are well defined in our workbooks. Maybe to say something small about this. What do I say? One is here, and candidate is here, examinee there, answer sheet, briefing, examination center, registration, examination room. Then you take about an examination room. Then by appearance, from the way it sounds, very clear. An examination room, a room where candidates sit examinations from. Okay, an invigilator is that person who watches over candidates who are doing an exam in order to avoid or to make sure they do not cheat or there is no malpractice. An invigilator, that person who watches over children or candidates doing an examination to make sure there is no malpractice, there is no cheating. That is the role of an invigilator. He watches over candidates to avoid cheating. A candidate is a person who is doing an examination. That is a candidate. A candidate is a person who is doing an examination. You may want the teacher to say a child, but nowadays it's normal for adults to study, even P7. It is very normal for an adult to sit PLE. Yes, when you watch TV, you discover there are very many people who sit exams when they are beyond your age. Yes, there are very many. So they are also candidates. As long as they are sitting examinations, they are candidates. So a candidate is a person who is sitting an examination. Next, we have an examinee. Like I've told you, an examinee is not different from a candidate. The difference is that they are similar. Examinee means candidate. We have an examinee and an examiner. Examiner should be in the next. Okay, it's not there. We'll talk about it. Is there. Talk about it when the time is right. Answer sheet. It is a sheet of paper where you write answers. That's an answer sheet. Next, we have an examination center. That is a place, especially a school, where different candidates can gather and do their examinations from. For example, if there is a school anywhere like this is Train Upper Child Primary School, there are different schools that register under this center, and those different schools come here to do the examinations from. They come and do the examinations from here, and this one becomes their examination center. You can study from here, then you do examinations from elsewhere. Meaning, at that time of exams, candidates from this school are taken to the examination center to do the exam. Then after that exam, they come back to our school. That one becomes their examination center. Next is briefing. Briefing, when candidates are about to do exams, one of the things we do to prepare them, or one of the things we do in preparation for examinations is briefing. What happens in briefing? Briefing, you the candidates gather somewhere and you are given examination instructions.
When you are doing an exam, you are supposed to be quiet. If you want anything, any assistance, put up your hand, and the examiner, the invigilator, will come to your rescue and will ask you what you need or what kind of assistance you want, and will provide you with that kind of assistance. If your paper falls down, don't bend to pick it. When you bend, it will appear like you want to cheat. Instead of put up your hand, instead of doing that, put up your hand. The invigilator will come, he will pick it for you, he will do everything for you. But those are just examples. Yes, generally, that's what happens during briefing. You enter the examination room when you are ready. After easing yourself, make sure you have a pen, make sure you follow the timetable, do not come late. All those are messages people, especially head teachers and class teachers, deliver during the briefing. A meeting when candidates are given instructions about examinations, and that is called briefing. Briefing is normally the last repeat. Briefing is the last moment you, the candidate, have with the teacher before the examination. Usually after briefing, we say, may the grace of God follow you as you do that exam, and we meet again in future when the results are out. So that is briefing. After briefing, head teachers normally say, no more teaching, because the last message we have given you is connected to examinations. If I come and teach after briefing, I'll be committing a crime. So after briefing, no more lessons. You're only ready for the exam. We go registration. It's a noun, abstract noun from abstract noun from register. And last examination room, like I told you, it's a room where you can sit examinations full. We have exercises connected to this on page 83 and 84. Page 83 and 84, vocabulary practice exercise. That's where to find it. Comprehension. We have some comprehension pieces still. We have comprehension, which is about an examination, a set of examination instructions. That should be on page 84. Yes, page 84 itself has that piece of comprehension work. Then read and answer the questions about examination instructions on page 84. This is connected to this. What next? We have a composition, and that's a dialogue. That should be on page 85, where we are told to complete the feeding dialogue on that very page, and the next one. Lastly, we'll look at the subtopic of sitting examinations. Sitting examinations. Still under the same topic, examinations. We have the new words look at, where we see words like pass mark, audit, invigilator, examiner, supervisor, ink, answer, score, leakage, division, success, then marking, results, aggregate, accurate, percent. Percent can be written like this. You can also choose to write it like this. Teacher, there is no difference. I swear there is a difference. This is one word, these are two words. So you can choose to write percent like this, or percent like this, one word. And percent means out of 100. If you say someone has 91%, this is the symbol for percent for those who are not yet aware. 91% is the same as 91 out of 100. I believe the math teacher has ever taught you about percentages. Percentages is have to do with out of 100. After percent, we see cheat, then malpractice, which is dishonest behavior during an examination. Yes, you behave in a dishonest way, then in an exam, then you're going to be disqualified. Okay, malpractice is dishonest behavior during an examination. Then duration, which is the time taken when you're doing an exam. That's the duration. For example, the duration for a mathematics examination in P7 is 2.5 hours. The duration for an English examination in P7 is 2.25 hours. That's the duration. Time taken when you're doing something. Certificate, fail, then pass, sleep. We have an activity connected to that, and that activity is on page 89 and 90. Teacher, is this all? No, this is not all. Details of these definitions and examples are given in our workbook, right from page 86 to page 87 to page 88 and 89. There are different definitions given and examples of such words and sentences. Then we have comprehension to do with this, and that is comprehension and composition as well, where you have a passage on page 92. You read the passage, understand it, then try out those questions given. Remember to answer them in full sentences. Read the passage and understand it fully before you try answering any of the questions. People have a weakness in reading, better style up because P7 requires a lot of patience. You read with patience, then you answer accurately. Avoid the habit of crossing. Answer according to tenses. Then before you answer, if possible, but in most cases I understand it's possible, you need to underline the part of the passage where you're getting that answer from. Before you put your answer down, underline. For example, if it is in paragraph 2, line 3, underline those very words that show the teacher that you've got your answer from that very part. Then you start writing it, so that when the teacher is marking, he can also refer to that underlined part and say, much as I have a different answer, what this child underlined was very okay. This candidate is serious. So those are some of the signs that the child is serious. So that's about the passage. Give a suitable title for this passage. If you have to give a suitable title to that passage, that title must be written in capital letters. And since you are just asked to give, you'll just give. You do not need to write a full sentence. Next, what do we see? We see a guided composition, which you normally call the jumbled story. The jumbled story is guided composition. Then after that, we see instructions, and that is the front page of an examination. On page 94, you'll try out that activity as well. We show you our district examinations board, end of term 1 examination, 2016, P7 English. Study all that stuff written by Okene Geoffrey from that school, Mary Kitsu Primary School, which is Church of Uganda Primary School, and that's all the questions that follow. Then after that, we have a free composition on page 95, which is telling us that in the space below, let me read it for you so that you get me clear. In the space below, use between 100 and 150 words. Write a composition about the hardest examination your class has ever done. Clearly indicate how you had prepared for it. How did you prepare for it? The results you had expected, but the actual score you got. I expected 99. I got 37. It is possible, very possible. Next, also indicate how you felt when the teacher read out your results in the classroom and what you learned from the results you got. After failing or maybe after excelling, their lessons will draw from what has happened. You're going to write a composition between 100 and 150 words. What do you need? You don't need to write while counting words. Oh, this is number 1, this is word 2, this is word 3. No, let me say something about this. In a composition, you expect to see a title. Each composition is supposed to have its title. And the title, like the teacher has just emphasized, can best be written if it is in capital letters.
You derive it from the text or the question you have been given. In the space below, use between those words, 100 and 150 words, to write a composition about the hardest examination your class has ever done. Meaning, I can underline these words because they show me the title. The hardest examination your class has ever done. So you say, my title is the hardest examination my class has ever done. Yeah, like that. Having done that, you go ahead to write the introduction. Which may need only one paragraph. Give us the body. I've been talking about letter writing in this very lesson. The body which shows us the message. Which message is in the question. Don't think of other things outside this. Whatever you want to answer, whatever you write, whatever you want to write in your composition, if you want to earn marks, must be from the question. If it is not from the question, we shall say, thank you so much for writing a lot of irrelevant work that's not on track. After writing the body and the message, take us to the conclusion. Yes, the conclusion. And having done that, you don't need to begin your composition with words like, my name is so and so. Take a composition to be a passage. If you ever read a passage, there are not many passages that begin with the writer's name. Yes, there are not very many. If they are there, then they are written the right way. Don't begin the composition with your name. In fact, again, don't end the composition with your name. You don't need that in your letter. So after writing the conclusion, that's enough. You don't need to tell us, my name is so and so, I stay in this place. All that stuff has no mark. In fact, the only thing it can do is to take away your marks. So lastly, we set an examination timetable as shown on page 97. When we do that, I'll say we are done with a topic called examinations. So having done that, I believe you will be able to answer the topical test. Teacher, where do we find the topical test? The topical test about examinations should be on page 108. 108 is where you'll get the topical test about examinations. This is the end of our lesson today. I said thank you for watching and following us via YouTube. When we meet again, I believe we'll be looking at a different topic, and that should be electronic media. Stay safe. Goodbye.